Mark it there, and we'll go and find this guy who has somehow ended up in the next field over. So he didn't do that much while we were gone. Getting all confused again. There we go. Stop. Lower. Stop. Turn it on and drive. Okay. Helper, not very helpful. Ah well. Actually, well, that's the thing. The helper kind of screwed up at the top there for some reason. But we're now back right on our line. I don't know. I guess we can do the top bit manually again. Just so that we get a full thing. A full thing of stuff, whatever we're doing. Alrighty. Lift. What am I doing? I don't know. Stop. Drive. Okay. So we will get this field done. I might just do the top headland. A couple of headlands along the top. Give us a little bit more room to turn around. So yeah, this tractor does not work well with a 6-meter planter unless you plant alternate rows and then fill in the gaps, which means using GPS all the time. Thinking 9 meters is kind of tight for it as well. Oh. Where do we want to go back to? That'll do. Forward and out there. I don't know why the worker worked it. Well, I'm guessing I do know why the worker worked his way off that line a bit. To pull forwards and reverse again for that. There we go. And that's because, well, yeah, our course is 269.5 or thereabouts. So when we put the worker on, he was running a direct 270 course. So the problem there is that actually, no, this is the narrower part of the field. We should be running across the field, I think. Plus it would help with drainage. Stop. Straighten the wheels, then turn on the steering. So I'm guessing the worker was working exactly 270, which was why we ended up with that gap at the top where it ran. So, I mean, as far as seeders goes, okay, impressions on this particular seeder. It doesn't have a lot of seed capacity at all. Pretty sure it doesn't have, no, this, I mean the seeds are put in these little pods at the back and they drop straight down onto the seeder or the planter wheels planting device thing. And so there's no way to fit an auxiliary seed tank on this device in order to increase your capacity. Now, game-wise, you probably can, because who knows why, but the fertilizer tank is huge. I mean, we're 39% used. And we're still going fine with that. I mean, I'm going to get this entire field, possibly both of them, on a single tank of fertilizer. It's a 2,000 litre fertilizer tank, so I probably should have bought some more fertilizer with this. But we're going to have to go shopping. I don't know, maybe we take the Johnston trailer down to the store so that we have capacity for more stuff. Because we are going to need seed. Lots more seed. And no, I'm not running the global company mod yet, which means I don't have access to the field calculator. Oh yes, it's going to take a long time, but it's also going to be very worthwhile. Sugar beets are, because of the yield, are very lucrative as far as income for the farm. It's just, it's going to take you a long time to harvest them all. At the moment, on this farm, we're really not rushed. Plus, I believe you can harvest sugar beets when they're wet. So if we do end up with a really wet fall, it's not going to be a total disaster. Although last year wasn't a total disaster, because we did end up with a dry end of fall. I was seriously worried about not being able to get the soybeans out of the ground, and that wasn't even close to being an issue. Now we do have, what is it? actually, what was it? I was watching a YouTube video on potato harvesting, and they basically had a potato windrower. So it was sort of like a potato harvester, but all it was doing was pulling the potatoes out of the ground and throwing them out the left side of the harvester and just dropping the potatoes on the ground. So effectively all of the... Oops, I'm doing that. All of the potatoes were just having the dirt shaken off them through the windrower and deposited in a trench to one side, and then the harvester would turn round at the other end and come all the way back down and drop the next row of potatoes in the same trench. And then the actual potato collector, oops, we're out of seed. I didn't notice, I wasn't paying attention. The actual potato collector came along, and it only has a 2 metre work width, but that doesn't matter because it's just picking potatoes out of a trench. It's not it's not harvesting a 2 metre work width, and that would make, having something like that would make harvesting potatoes in Farm Sim much better, because the potato harvesters are just horrible for their work width, and you wouldn't have to worry about it because... Okay, what I'm going to do is I'm going to line up for a run along the edge here. So we actually go up the diagonal there. But first things first, we'll just walk into the cedar, why not? Actually, first things first. Well, I'll hitch all of those. I could but it's one of the reasons why I prefer beet harvesting to potato harvesting in Farm Sim, because beet harvesters have a really bad work width, but it's, compared with potatoes, it's actually not so bad. So it takes far less time to harvest beets than it does potatoes. Oops. Back up. We need to lift that up. Oh, we need to lift that up a bit. But now, technically, to refill this, I would just pick out a pack of seeds and empty one in each of those seed buckets and be done with it. I'm going to shut down the vent, and we will reload that like that. I should have a weight on this tractor too. So 720 litres of seeds that this thing takes. Okay, let's run up here. So one thing that, I don't know, this seed is a little bit weird, because if you look at where the planting heads are, there's a good 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Okay, it's a 12-row seeder because you've got 12 seed pods, but there's a good, extra row on each side of equipment, and yet it's planting the full width of the equipment, not the full width of a row. The way I'm planting, I would expect the edge to be right where the seed plant is, and it's, yeah, there's a good extra metre, I would guess, there, possibly more, of land being planted that shouldn't really be, because the planting head doesn't go out that far. So I'll run up this side with this. It's only, yeah, we got 9 metres here, so that's more than enough to make a turnaround. But yeah, give me some good potato harvesting equipment. So I mean some good potato harvesting equipment. I'd actually consider harvesting potatoes as well. Now what I might do with the beet harvest is dump the beets at the side of the field. I think we can use our what is it? Our belts to pick them up again. But I'll just have a field tractor with the tipper and just unload the harvester as it goes. But I won't take the beets back to the farm. Plus we don't have any storage on the farm. And then I can always bring the truck down to the edge of the field and I don't know. See, that's another thing. There's I mean, you look at it, and beets can be a pain in the butt to harvest, but they're nowhere near as bad as potatoes. Potatoes are horribly expensive to plant. You need 10 times as many seeds to plant a potato field as you need to plant any other type of field, possibly 20 times. Which is why taking up a potato planting contract is absolutely crazy, because you're going to spend so much money on seeds. Now they pay you well for doing the contract, but you spend so much money on seeds. It's just horrible. Sugar beets, you use about the same amount of seeds as you would if I planted this field with wheat. I'm using about the same amount of seed, so it's not nearly quite as bad. Okay, now that we've done the edge, gives us a little bit more room. But the advantage with potatoes is once you've harvested them, you can use what you've harvested to plant next year's crop. But there's no in-game storage for them. There are some mod stores that you can store potatoes in. But I think as far as the sugar beets we pull are concerned, as I said, I'm just going to unload them at the side of the field. We'll bring the belt system down from the farm, and we'll load the truck and try and sell as we go. But we'll number one job is to make sure that the harvester is as empty as it can be, as quickly as it can be. At this point, since the last big job we did was foraging corn on lawfolds in FS19, and that still being as memorable as it was, I'm wondering now, are sugar beets as bad as corn is to harvest? Although bonus on the corn planting, or the foraging, is it in there? Yes, this thing is now available, which is the Kvern cargo. You throw, oh, quick, get back to the back, stop. The forage harvester unloads into that, but it turns sideways at an angle so that you can drive a truck alongside and just unload into it. Kind of like I was doing on 17 with the sugar beet trailers, the high tip trailers. You could drive something alongside and unload into it. And originally we did start with a Kronex cargo, which was attached to the forager, but it had wandering issues, so you would park it up and come back to it an hour later and it was somewhere else. You know, it would drift on the map, so sadly I got rid of that, but the Krone Big X cargo was a good idea at the mod, but didn't work with my map. So when we do get a forage harvester, I may look into using the Krone cargo and seeing if that works at all. Back up. Anyway, they are plans for later years. This year we've got to worry about getting sugar beets out of the ground. And I'm probably going to be using the tractor hauled sugar beet harvester because we have the big tractors. And we don't have the £300,000 to buy a self-propelled sugar beet harvester, although I think I do have access to the smaller mod harvester. I'll check that at the end of this row too. How's the seed? 46%, that's okay. So when it comes to sugar beet technology, we have the Terados 440, T440, which has a 45,000 litre capacity. That thing has 43. That thing has 30. And then, oh, I don't have, what's that? That's just a thing that picks up sugar beets, isn't it? Yeah. That's kind of a cute device as well, but yeah, the problem is 500,000 for that. But if I go over here, 120 for that. So we will probably be using this. That's the HR12 I could have sworn I got the Terados T430, I think it was, and the multiple headers that one has. It's a slightly cheaper option, slightly smaller. What is it? Slightly smaller tank capacity, lower horsepower, but obviously cheaper. But we'll be avoiding potatoes for the time being. And because I don't have, I mean, we could use the area out back by the sheep field where the wool collects to store beets. That's a nice little area for root crop, open air root crop storage. But I think we'll end up selling what we can as we produce it, and trucking it straight from the field and just having a cart on the field to empty the harvester. And then the other thing to talk about as far as this plant is concerned is its transit mode. The fact that it doesn't take up a lot of room. It doesn't fold, which probably goes towards somewhat making it cheaper to build because there's no hydraulics involved as far as folding it up is concerned. And so being able to transport it on its narrow end means that it's easier to park in a shed too. So I'm kind of liking that. Then you have the 12-meter one, which just doesn't have a fertilizer tank, which is why I went for this one. Because I do like to be able to put the seed down at the same time I'm doing fertilizer, and we're never going to have to come back to this field except to kill weeds from now on until harvest time. Oh, turkeys are running away. Yes, interesting place we live. We have deer. We have a red-tailed hawk which loves to chase the rabbits and the squirrels, and we have a gang of turkeys wandering around. But actually, there are a lot of turkeys in the town, city. Company's main office, there's usually a flock of turkeys wandering around most of the summer, which can make it difficult to take a hike at, go walking at lunchtime, because they do get rather upset with people walking by, and because there's so many of them, they don't think anything about chasing after them. So stay away from the turkeys. here. I figure we're going to get this done with seed to spare, so that's a good thing. So the GPS, guidance steering and enhanced driving mod don't play together. So if I've got the GPS turned on, I have to use normal drive controls, but as soon as I turn it off, I'm using gear shift mode, which is my preference. I think a little bit there that one missed, so drop that down, whoops, forwards, and plant that bit, and we are done. So turn that off. Now, you need to remember to fold it up, which is unfold all the bits, and drop it before you drop it off, so that you can actually tow it somewhere. And then the other nice thing about this seeder is it also does connect